Today we are going to cover timing a brushed motor, what that means, and how I do it here in the shop. There are a few reasons that you might want to time your brushed motor. Number one, just to check it out. Number two, maybe you did a rebuild on your motor and you didn't have us do it. Or number three, you just like to learn new things. So what we're going to do is time this Torque Master Pro 35 turn, and I'll show you exactly what that means. So just like a gasoline vehicle, there are timings to how you fire each individual coil on a brushed motor. So when you advance your timing, you get more RPM, and when you retard your timing, you have less RPM. And it is possible to actually retard past 0 on a brushed motor if you're going in the wrong direction. But advanced timing for forward direction is the same as retarded timing for the reverse of that direction. So you always have to balance what you want. All of the motors that we sell through most retailers are going to be at 0 timing and pre-broken in for anything that is a rebuildable. And this way you don't have to worry about it. With a sealed can motor like this Crawlmaster Sport, make sure I don't lose things. This Crawlmaster Sport, you cannot change your timing, so it's a moot point with this. But with a pro or an expert from us, you can adjust your timing. Again, if you buy them from a vendor, it's going to be at 0. If you buy them directly from us, you can have us actually do the timing for you. So as you can see on the can here, we have it marked 0 to 36 and 0 to negative 36 on here. Now this is arbitrary depending on which way your motor is actually spinning. And if you think about it just like a gasoline engine, if your motor is spinning, let's say in this direction, then advanced timing is actually going to be in the opposite direction because you want it to fire sooner than when you get to 0, if that makes sense. And I am talking about the brushes in relation to the can here. If we reversed how we're thinking about it, the directions would also be reversed. So easier if I just show you this instead of continue to talk about it. So let's go to the side that has our timing marks. As you saw in a previous video, or maybe you didn't see the video, you loosen these 2 screws on a rebuildable motor, and then this allows your end bell to move. So I'm just going to loosen them and show you that. There you go. We can slide left and right. Fantastic. So I'm going to set this back at 0. And I'm keeping a little bit of tension on this. I didn't loosen it all the way because when you're adjusting timing, it'll move if it can move. And I want to show you this while it is spinning. So I've got a power supply. You could use a battery, but a power supply is going to make it much easier because you can see the amp draw. This is one reason why you may have us do the rebuildables here at Holmes Hobbies instead of yourself. Maybe you don't want to get an amp supply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ramp this up to about 3 volts or so. Something that's not spinning so fast that you have to worry about it, but something that's spinning fast enough to where the amp draw is actually consistent. So we're gonna ramp this up a little bit. As you can probably not hear or see, 0.4 volts is when we actually get rotation of the motor. Every motor has a minimum speed that it will rotate. And if you look at the amp draw before it rotates, we got 2.7 amps, but as soon as it starts rotating, that drops down to 1.3. This is your startup of the motor. But we don't want to adjust timing at the startup of the motor. We need to get a little bit more RPM out of it. A 35 turn motor is about 1500 RPMs per volts. So for 3 volts, we would be at about 4500 RPM. There we go. All right, we are at 1.18. on our amp draw. Let's do a little bit of adjustment and see what happens. Gonna have to turn it sideways so I can do this properly. Actually, I'm gonna move this. Woo, little sparky spark. This will give me a easier grip. So as we turn, and I'm gonna get down low so you can hear, as we turn to an advanced position, you will hear an increase in speed. Oh, it got slower. So that was retarded timing. There we go. Advanced, you hear it go faster. Once again, retarded timing, and you can see the amp draw going up to 1.4, back at 0, 1.1-ish, advance it again. There we go. So we're now up to 1.5. So at 0, you can see that we actually have the minimum amp draw. At retarded, amp draw goes up, RPMs go down. Advanced, amp draw goes up, RPMs go up. So that's essentially it. That's timing right there. I'm gonna put this one back at 0, and whenever we set 0 timing for our motors, for our brush motors, we always use the amp draw method. And it's usually gonna be right there at that 0 mark. It's gonna be really close one way or another. Now the brushes themselves do move a little bit in the channel. It's much more apparent with a lay down brush than a stand up brush. These are stand up brushes. So as they wear in, you actually will find that 0 point kind of moves a little bit depending on which way is forward for you. So that's why we generally will add about 6 degrees of timing after we rebuild a motor if you know which direction you're going to be running in. So as you can see, we're at 1.14. If we go back to the 0 mark on the can, we're at 1.12 or so. So a slight increase to amp draw, a slight increase to speed, and it's just kind of an overall good position to be in. So there we go. We are back at 0. We have essentially minimized our amp draw again. We're back down at 1.1, and that's timing a motor. Hopefully that was relatively obvious is what I was doing, and I explained it well, but if you do have questions, leave them down below. Now, don't forget to tighten your end bell back down after you do this. There you go. And it doesn't need much, just a little bit. The one reason why we use these very small #1 screwdrivers from Weha is that you can't really tension them down too easily because there's not much to grip here. It doesn't need much. There you go. All right, if you do have any questions, leave them down below. We'll do our best to get to them. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out, and otherwise we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.